Hi, my name's Emily Kennedy, and this is my final project for Differentiating Instruction for Diverse Learners. So for my philosophy and goals of teaching, especially with inclusion, I think that inclusion is something that's very important, especially for kids who struggle and may sometimes have to be in a different room. I feel like the interaction with other students helps some of the kids a lot, especially with socializing and things like that. For my goals, I want my kids to obviously learn and grow every year, but not just that, but I want them to be able to look back at where they started. I want them to be proud of themselves. I want them to be able to see, oh, at the beginning of the year, I couldn't do that, or I didn't think I could do that, but I can do that. And I want my kids to be proud of themselves. I also want my kids to have a lot of resources. I want them to have things in the classroom that they can go and get that they know will help them. But I also want them to know that I am a resource. I want them to know that I'm there to help them and that I am someone that they can trust. I want them to come to me if they need help. I want them to know that I will be there after school if they need me or anything like that. The school that I'm at now is Park Hill Elementary. It's in Derby. It is, I think about 300 to 400 kids go there. It's a primarily white group of kids go there. We do have some other races there, but it's mostly white. It's grades K through 5. We have 2 structured learning classrooms. One is K through 2 and one is 2 through 5. I am in the K through 2 classroom actually right now. We have 7 autistic boys in there, and we also have a classroom, I forget what it's called, but the kiddos who are included into the other classrooms, they go there and they get a lot of additional help, so they aren't necessarily in the structured classrooms all day. They're usually out by themselves in the other classrooms all day, or sometimes have a para but go to this other room for help and additional support. As far as inclusive experience, we have 2 boys who go to the regular ed specials, so the music, PE, art. Every once in a while I help with that, and I also take one of the boys to art every Monday. But that's the only inclusive work that I have experience with. But I have a brother who was in special ed, and I know he was in his regular classes pretty much all the time, but also went to his special ed classes too a lot. So I know kind of how things were for him and what helped him and stuff like that. But the kiddos don't really talk to the other kids since they're autistic. They don't really always have that social aspect of them, but they do like to join in on activities, especially in PE. They join in a lot on there. For my classroom design, in my classroom, I want my kids to be able to do what they need to do to get them to succeed. I want them to be able to take responsibility for their own learning and be proud of themselves for doing that. Yes, I want to have these things provided to them, but I want them to be able to go and get something that they may need, or ask me, can we get this because I think this would help me, something like that. I want my kids to, through the lessons, I want there to be the possibility of working either in pairs or in groups or even by themselves if they want to, but I want to be able to have that choice for them as often as I can, because I do know some kids don't like to work in groups, or some kids work best in groups, things like that. I want to have things available to them that might help them, such as wiggle chairs, standing desks, headphones if we have any kids who are sensitive to sounds. I know sometimes classrooms can get loud, so I want them to be able to have that. I want them to be able to stand up and make that decision for themselves. If they feel like they need something to help them, I want them to get up and go and get it, so they can help themselves concentrate or help them get whatever they need. I also would like a sort of quiet zone for the kids, especially if we're working on work, like the lesson's over and there's other things that need to be done. I want them to be able to go there, or say, things are getting too much for them, they need a break, they can go there. I want them to be safe. I want them to feel safe in my room and be able to go to this quiet place where they can cool down, collect themselves, and come back to the lesson, or go and work on their work until they're done and come back. For building community and responding to behaviors, I want a lot of respect and understanding in my classroom. I want the regular ed kids to understand the kids who may have behaviors, and I want there to be respect between all of the kids. I want them to be able to help each other. If they see that a kid is struggling and getting frustrated, then I want them to say, hey, do you need help? Or hey, is there something that I can do, to make you feel better? Are you frustrated with something like that? I want my kids to be able to carry on their work even though someone may be having a behavior problem or something like that. I don't want them to focus all their attention on there, because it will take away their focus on their work, but also I don't want the kid that's having the behaviors to feel pointed out and subjected, like, oh, look at him, what is he doing? And I don't want that in my classroom. But I also want to be able to stop my lesson if I see that someone's having a hard time and say, why don't we all, take a breathing exercise together to try to maybe deter everyone from seeing that or helping that individual student, or, why don't we do a brain break and, get moving a little bit and maybe get his mind off something without actually pointing out, like, oh, there's someone in here who may be having problems or something like that. I want my classroom to be very organized. I think that will help a lot. That way kids can go and utilize tools that they need to help them. I also want to have a very high expectation for positive behavior. And I also, I want to give my students praise for the positive behavior, but I also want everyone to have positive behaviors towards each other, and I want them to help each other and believe in each other and also themselves. I want to be trustworthy for the kids. I want to be a safe place for them to come to me if they're having something. I want my classroom to be adjustable. I want the seating to be adjustable. I want everything to be able to be changed at any time in order to help my kids. I also want to group students together based on their abilities to see if that would help, or maybe even, if there's higher kids that are really good at a certain area and some that aren't, they could help and, reach across the table and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, can you help me, or something like that. For inclusive academic instruction, language arts is something that I struggled with as a kid. I was not a very strong reader, so this is something that kind of hits home for me. I want a lot of options for my kids. I want audiobooks to be available. I want book reports to be available. I want, online assignments to be available, something that's interactive for them. When I was younger, working with other kids really helped me the most, seeing their point of view, or maybe I didn't understand something and we could all sit and talk together. And so I think group activities when it comes to reading or language or something like that helps a lot. As far as math, I think math is something that's very hard because it's not always very visual. Well, I want other ways to make it visual. I actually heard Dr. Temple Grandin talk one time, and she was talking about how autistic kids struggle so much with algebra because it's not visual. They do so well in geometry because it's something that they can see, but algebra is such a hard concept to wrap your mind around. I mean, even for regular ed kids, but imagine, an autistic child who's so visual already trying to wrap their mind around this, and she thought, algebra should just be thrown out if the kid couldn't do it, or it shouldn't be a big deal. And You know, part of me agrees with that, but I also understand that that may not be realistic. So I want math videos. I want websites that are accessible for my kids to help them see how things work. And for science is a very big combination of math and language arts. There's a lot of reading, but there's also a lot of math, and there's also some other new concepts that are put into it. And so I want to take things from math and language arts and put it into science, like, you know, listening to things, watching videos on things, working in groups. I think those are something that helps kids a lot in science and things like that. Continuing on, I want my higher kids to be able to put their knowledge into other uses. You know, I want them to be able, I don't want them to get bored. If they know this really well, then I want to give them something that will push their knowledge. I want something that will make them work harder. You know, whether it's a presentation to me, or, you know, maybe they could do a presentation to the whole class, or something like that, applying it to something else, doing, you know, experiments, or, you know, making something visual for everyone to see, or something like that, doing extra research on it, trying to find something that they didn't know about this. I want them to be able, to do that and expand their knowledge and, you know, get even more interested in something. I don't want them to be bored because they say, oh, well, I already know this, so what's the point in learning more? I want them to, you know, even be able to help me in class. You know, if they want to come up and help me or something like that, or help other students, I think that would help them a lot, because I feel like it would make them feel, you know, important, and they won't lose interest in what's going on. For my kids who may have troubles, you know, I want like all of those resources available for them, the quiet zones, the chairs, the standing desks, everything. And I want them to feel safe in my classroom. I want them to utilize me. You know, hey, Miss Kennedy, do you think being able to get this in the classroom, we could do that, or could we build something like that? I think it would help me. Or can I sit next to so-and-so because I get distracted by this person, or something like that. I want them to always be able to come and talk to me. That way I can try to help them to the best of my ability. I want my classroom to be a respectable, safe zone. I want all my kids to feel safe. I want it to be fun. I want it to be respectful. I want it to be, you know, just safe and trustworthy, not just with me, but with each other. I want them to know that we're all in this together. And that's it. Thank you.